What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Valley coming at you with the one, the only, the indelible, the certified fantabulous, Mr. Grant Hughes. We are finally on to our awards show. So we got to see every single regular season game. Well, I don't watch basketball, so I didn't see any regular season games, but the regular season's over. These are our final awards picks. We are not trying to predict who will win, although we'll probably get into some of that somewhere about we think player X will be announced as the winner. We also Another reason to join our Discord. The link is in the YouTube and podcast description. A few of you asked that we would do made up awards, and I think that might actually be a fun show next year if we have more time to prepare for it. But our Discord members sent in a bunch of different fake award categories. We picked some of our favorites. We will go through those at the end. And if there's time, we will get into some of the breaking news items that have happened around the league, and then be on the lookout for, as of now, the plan is no super concrete promises. We will have our playoff previews up in time for the game ones that begin this coming Saturday. Before we belly flop into our final award talk of the season, Grant, how are you doing?
Well, the two topics are related because I texted you 10 minutes before we came on and started recording and told you I had changed my MVP choice. And so I'm going through it. I don't like, tell me if you, well, we'll get to it, but like, just real quickly, like, you agonize over these probably more than I do. And I went into this thinking like, this isn't that important. Just like, don't consume a lot of like other people's picks and just go with what you think's right. Like, trust the numbers, trust gut, trust your whatever. And like, even with like half the league being ineligible for everything, I still was just like, oh, I changed so many picks so many times that I don't feel great about almost any of it.
So I went about it by filling out, because we're doing this so much later. I filled out my initial ballots and then I listened and read things. The only situations where, and I kind of forced myself not to change anything. You do know I was flip-flopping on rookie of the year is what I found the toughest. MVP, of course. And I've struggled a lot over the meaning of most improved player. And I think like I've kind of finally settled on what I want my criteria to be, but it's, you agonize over it. And I'm just, what did the league office say when you messaged them to ask if you could change your MVP pick after the votes were doing?
They're like, they're like, you filled out the spreadsheet and then you sat on it for 4 days, didn't you? And then you readdressed it and you're like, who even made these picks? And I said, that's exactly what happened.
Well, let's not make this. I guess I'll make us contentious with one. I'll get mad at you for something, but hopefully let us know your awards picks in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube or in our Discord. As usual, though, we were just going to get off and running. MVP. We actually have so we have the same top four. So I'll just throw the top four out there. Jokic at 1, Shea at 2, Tatum at 3, Giannis at 4. We each have different fives, which we'll get into. I think the debate, Grant, correct me if I'm wrong. I think people have been caught up whether it should be Shea or Jokic, and I ended up being of the mind that I really do think, and I believe this, that you could choose any one and be correct. And so I defaulted here to, I think Jokic is the best player in the world. I think that he's more indispensable to the Nuggets, and that's not Shea's fault, because I think he's better than Shea in a vacuum. That ended up being my differentiator here this year.
Yeah. So when I had Shea at number 1 in MVP, which I did for almost a week, probably after really I think most of the year we just had Jokic. Both of us did. I flipped to Shea because I found myself like, and I'm sort of going to make the case for Shea, even though I picked Jokic. We'll circle back, I guess. But like, we're going to need to burn some calories on this, I think, because it is sort of the biggest part of the award season and has been the biggest part of the discourse all year. So I found myself when it came to Shea, like, you don't have to like talk yourself out of any of what he did as like somehow not consequential or somehow. It's just easier to look at Jokic's case and say like, well, his team wasn't as good as Shea's. Okay, there's one. And like the catch-alls are pretty close. And in fact, Shea's got the edge in I think more than most. Like, if you just pile up all the alphabet soup stuff, I think Shea probably has. I know he does in EPM. I think he's got him in LeBron. You can go down the list, like defensive box plus minus and stuff like that. Seems to love Jokic. Don't know what to do with that. But like, okay, if that's close to a wash, Shea's team was exceptional. He's a better defensive player at the thing he's asked to do than Jokic is. And it's just kind of like, and then you get to like, well, what would Shea have needed to do to win MVP if he's not going to win it this year? And it's like, because you just can't have a guard, like sort of can't have a better season than this. It's almost impossible. Like all the best since Michael Jordan in whatever 1987 or whatever, like all this crazy stuff. So, and then I agreed the whole time that Jokic is the best player in the world. I was looking at this season, and that's what was making me go with Shea. And then I just get down to it, and it's like the Nuggets offense is better with Jokic on the floor than the Thunder's is with Shea on the floor. Shea has better supporting talent, I think, certainly defensively. I don't think Shea's role on defense is as important as the one Jokic plays. Shea guards the fourth or fifth best guy a lot of the time. I'm not knocking him. I'm just like, this is what circled me back. And I really got fixated on this last thing. And I'll throw it to you because I still am wrestling with it. I'm very convinced that if Jokic had not won multiple MVPs in the past and we had just parachuted into this season and you looked at his numbers and you watched him play this season, you would say this is the greatest season anyone's ever had. You would like averaging triple doubles, just like can shoot three, like nothing he can't do. Like this is an insanely dominant season. And I hate the voter fatigue thing, but I feel it. I'm feeling it for real because I think if you took me and said, just look at these 2 seasons, pretend one guy hasn't basically been doing this for like almost a decade, I would say like, well, the guy averaging a triple double and insane efficiency and playing center, I would be like, that's just better. And so I think I had to check myself and like really admit that the fact that Jokic has been this great for a long time, it like made me not appreciate that. In fact, he's even greater now. And that like felt unfair. So I pivoted all the way back around to Jokic. And like, if you pick Shea, you didn't, but the general you, like, I get it. Like, I got nothing for you.
And there's that's it. I never felt the voter fatigue seeping into me, and I don't know if it actually like I get the argument about like, are we appreciating what Jokic is doing because of like that voter fatigue in the back of your mind? The Thunder having this season, there's all this drama in Denver, and just to add to Shea's case, 2 things that stood out is yes, he has better talent around him, but when you look at the half court creation talent around him, it's in the 5th percentile collectively. His teammates were in the 5th percentile of half court creation. Even Jokic's teammates are like in the high 30s. So like that's a huge lift from Shea. And this still speaks to the Thunder's roster construction. Grant, there are only 3 teams, this is per B-Ball Index, that lost more value to injuries this year than the Thunder.
That's a wild number. I've seen that a couple different places for like, how is that possible?
I mean, like, kudos to Sam Presti for building his roster, the players for developing the way that they have. Like, hell yeah. But I think that might be the most pervasive argument here is that if you were just to kind of chopper into this season and look at it without knowing Jokic had won multiple MVP awards already, is would you still vote for Shea? And I actually think more people would still vote for Shea because of how much value. And I really do believe it depends on your interpretation of value is no, I'm not basing this. And maybe in years past I did on the on-off splits. Look at how much it swings with Jokic. And like the offensive on-off splits with Shea are pretty fucking insane too. But like, that is part of the value to me. Like other people might be like, he's on a team that flirted with almost 70 games and they dealt with these injuries. And like that anecdotal stuff is certainly part of it. When it's this close though, I'm going to default towards, and I think the argument against my logic to it, to where I think that it's close is, do you think that Jokic is incapable of playing? Like is the Nuggets, are they so heliocentric with him, so dependent on him that it actually does them a disservice? And is that to some extent his fault?
I think it's actually opposite. I think if you put even better talent around him, he would be even more positively impactful. Like he's the ultimate, like there's no set of talent you could put around him that you'd be like, I don't know if that's going to work. You know, it's just like the better the talent gets around him, the better the whole thing gets because he's purely an additive player.
And the other thing that I don't, and I haven't seen voter fatigue thrown around a lot. I think a lot of people preemptively scold people for it, but I do think it just exists. Like I think the way you framed it was the best. And if anyone takes the stance, if this is your argument for why we're wrong, that it's Shea's turn, or that Jokic already did this, or that it's just the Thunder won this many games, I can't stress this enough. That does more of a disservice to Shea than it does to Jokic. It's not Shea. Shea is going to win it, by the way. So what me and Grant are saying right now, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. He's going to win it. He deserves to win it. There are 2 players who deserve to win MVP this year. And so you need to split hairs, but don't and this is again, maybe I'm yelling at clouds, straw man argument, whatever. don't for a minute frame this as like, well, it's Shea's turn, because Shea is so much better than it just being his turn. If it's his
Right.
turn, it's because he went and grabbed the award from Jokic, which he might have. And I thought, I don't know how much I struggled with how much I weight, because it's not Shea's fault that he has better talent around him. And it's not, I looked at Jokic's season, was even more amazed that he basically kept the dysfunction in Denver going
Right.
because he was papering over it by being so transcendent.
Yeah, that's I thought about that too, where it's like, okay, if you're gonna, we are splitting hairs, you just sort of have to, like, you do need to account for the fact that, like, clearly the vibes in Denver have been bad all year, and like he's just been the same. Like it's none of that poisons him. If anything, like I think it's fairly clear that were he not there, it's just like, oh, this would have. I mean, everything's different. Obviously, you sort of can't really imagine that hypothetical, but I do think he deserves credit for playing at this level with this amount of consistency over this much volume, with what's going on, like front office coaching, like the whole deal. Like that is a credit to him, I think. And it's like, well, that's unfair because Shea happens to be in like a high functioning organization, and like he didn't have the opportunity to prove he could. That's not to say he couldn't have, like, had the same kind of positive impact on a negative situation, but like, I don't know, Jokic deserves that. That's part of his case, a small part maybe, but it's not a zero.
Right. And I do think it's fair when it matters, when it's this close to where it's like, well, where would the Bucks be if you ripped Giannis off their team this season? Like, it's different. Like when you're talking about it at this level, I think we've kind of covered the bases on 1, 2. They're both spectacular. Shea's going to win, deserves to win. Either one of these guys should win. Tatum, we both have Tatum at 3 and Giannis at 4. I came very close. We both have had Giannis at 3 at various points this year. I came close to changing it back to just the playmaking since the Dame injury, and you factor in the mid-range improvement. I really just feel like we're at the point where Jason Tatum is underappreciated. And I never thought I'd say this about a 19-year-old, but just why can't we, like this? He's always playing. He's really good on defense. He's really good on offense. I do think the two things that probably work against him is he has improved as a playmaker a great deal over the past 3 years, but because he never has like the Jokic assists or the Doncic assist numbers steadily, that works against him. And then kind of just the other thing. And by the way, this was what I struggled with when I was looking at Shea and Jokic. Do you ever watch, I think even LeBron at his peak, maybe not LeBron at his peak, but like I'm trying to think of a good example. Tatum is the example where you could tell they're having an off night. And then with Shea and Jokic, it's, well, I feel like they had an off night, and you look at the stat line, it's like, well, they still just filled it.
Yeah.
So Tatum can have those weird where it feels like 7 of 18 nights or something. So maybe that works against him. But I'm just at the point where it's, I don't know that there's a more well-rounded player in the NBA right now than Jason Tatum.
I was going to use the word complete. And I think it's sort of like what I said about Jokic, where Tatum is additive, full stop. Giannis is great. Like, I don't even know why we're going to say Giannis isn't like historically great, because he is, and he's playing about as well as he's ever played, with the exception maybe of some of the defensive stuff. Even that, it's not like he's a negative, anything close to that. I think if you had to make some distinction, it would be like, yeah, Giannis is still kind of like slightly harder to build around than Tatum. You have to change a few things, but that's also just an acknowledgement that Tatum is like the ideal player to build around. Like, he just, okay, what are you sacrificing by having Tatum on the, like, nothing. He's just, everything works however you structure it around him.
At 5, I had Evan Mobley, where I just feel like his season has almost been under, like, I've seen people put Donovan Mitchell in this spot, which is kind of wild when you think about like two players, like you could debate with a straight face, like, do they belong on first team All NBA or top 5 in MVP voting? I recognize that Mobley doesn't fill the box score and like as a scorer as much. Almost every aspect of his game is better. He's tripled his 3-point volume basically on like an attempt basis, been pretty efficient doing it. He is more efficient overall as a self-created shot maker. His passing in traffic is better. We've talked about this multiple occasions. He can handle finishing through contact way more now. And then you now attach that to what he does on defense, to where he's contesting a smaller percentage of shots around the rim. He's still the best defensive player for a really good defensive team. He can do the center stuff. He could do the perimeter stuff. He can play with another center, like defensively, and they can mix and match that way. And like the numbers support it. Like, even when you're talking about Jaren Jackson Jr. in theory can do the same, the defensive numbers with him at center for Memphis are not what they are for Mobley in Cleveland. And by the way, when Mobley's in center in Cleveland, the lift is in theory heavier because who are the great defenders?
Yeah.
There's Isaac Okoro. They did get DeAndre Hunter at the trade deadline, but you're not talking about, and like Dean Wade is good, but can't play a ton. So there's talent there. I don't want to like poo everyone else on the roster, but his lift on defense, I think, is heavier than people give him credit for. The versatility is, I think everyone recognizes that. And so you couple that with the offensive growth. I kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, Cleveland has been one of the 2 best teams in the league this season. And I think he's been, now, if you were getting into most indispensable, I think that your pick actually makes more sense. But I think that he's just been the most important player to the second best team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, even on Mobley, I think Mobley's a fine pick. I ran into like, I think Mitchell is sort of the consensus guy that's maybe going to get this spot. I might even pick Garland over it. Like, honestly, like I would put Mobley for sure. But the whole it's hard to separate the Cavs from each other in this context because it's like, well, they're all awesome. Like, I don't know what to, so spoiler, I put 3 of them on my second team. So I went with Steph and, PSA, like, obviously I'm biased. I watch the Warriors more than I watch any other team. And what I see when I watch them is like, this guy is just like singularly impactful on every play, no matter where he is, and changes everything about what all 9 other players on the court are doing. He, I think, has the highest degree of difficulty. I mean, probably that's diminished by Jimmy Butler's presence. Certainly it was true before the Butler trade. And even after, it's not like teams guard him any differently. Like, he still is the singular focus all the time. And he's still highly productive. His shot diet, like, he just takes and makes very hard shots and like has to for the offense to function. The numbers are all great enough to be here just sort of independently. But I think those combined with just the weight of the lift, the degree of difficulty, however you want to phrase it, like him excelling so consistently against like game plans and personnel groupings that are designed entirely to stop him from doing what he wants to do every night. Like, it's just, I can't deny that. I think it's just, it's enough. I'm not doing this as like a lifetime achievement thing either. I think like this year he really is maybe, I'm saying it, he is one of the 5 most valuable players in the league.
You know what I think kind of reinforced this case even more? So post Jimmy Butler trade, it was like, oh, they put more talent around him and he just got better.
Right. Yeah. It's like, imagine if, well, we've seen what it looks like when he has tons of in-prime talent. He wins unanimous MVPs. Like, he's not as quick as that guy, but like he might like overall be like actually better than what he was 10 years ago. It's just the talent around him isn't the same.
I will go through my All-NBA teams before throwing it to you. My first team All-NBA is just the same as my MVP ballot: Jokic, SGA, Tatum, Giannis, and Evan Mobley. On second team, I have Steph made it for me. Donovan Mitchell made it for me. Cade Cunningham made it for me. Anthony Edwards and LeBron James made it for me. LeBron was tough. The numbers are just gaga. I know what the on-off stuff is, but I think people said, like, well, imagine if he played this way the entire year rather than just 2025. The offensive numbers have just been there. There's been some defensive improvement. I've even seen him getting some first team love. He came close to making, I ended up bumping Garland to move up Cunningham and LeBron. I still don't think that, like, not you and I necessarily, but like the gravity of Cade Cunningham's season feels like it still might just be setting in for everyone. This is 25 plus points, 9 assists, hit more than 50% of his twos. Trey, LeBron, Doncic, Jokic, Harden, and Oscar Robinson are the only players who have ever done that. It's like, this is someone who he's also improved defensively as a rebounder. He's really helped their transition attack more. Anthony Edwards, I go back and forth on him too. Like, second team ended up being really hard. Steph was just easy. I gave him first team and MVP consideration as well. Donovan Mitchell, another easy second team inclusion for me. Edwards, I still wonder, like, can you build an offense that is sustainably better than unflavored oatmeal with him? And I don't know, because there's like interesting peaks, but he is sometimes part of the limitations. At the same time, the 3-point shooting coupled with what he can do on defense, how important his driving and rim pressure is. And I look at him and say, like, oh, I wish he was 20% better as a passer. And like, he's still good enough as a passer, even if he reverts to old habits. So that's my second team. Third team, I have Darius Garland, Jaren Jackson Jr., who kind of the last quarter of the season, he had a second team case, I feel like, until the last. I try to keep perspective on it being the entire year, but if we start talking about a quarter of the season, like, it's not going to take you off all NBA for me, but it bumped him down a team. I have Towns and Brunson. I think Brunson might have been second team. Had he ended up hitting the 65 game minimum. So I wanted to reward some guys who were like Cade Cunningham, 70 games. And I think Brunson was part of some of the Knicks' problems, definitely defensively at points with the weak points that he allows offenses to attack. Towns has been great. The numbers are there, but it feels like he can play 1.5 types of defense, and that's a problem. And I know the Knicks are 12th in points allowed per possession. They are 0-8 against the Cavs and the Celtics combined. And like they're getting torched by those dudes. Now, my third team inclusion, it came down between Siakam, Halliburton, and Domas Sabonis for me. I went with Domas Sabonis. Halliburton, he's been fantastic, and had he played like this all year, I would have picked him, but he was just not this version for 25 games or so, and that's a lot. I thought about Siakam because I think maybe he's been the best wire-to-wire player here. The Kings have won the minutes with Sabonis on the court. This is the second time he's cleared 15 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists on 65 or better true shooting. Jokic is the only other player who's ever done that. And so, like, he stretched the floor a little bit. I know the on-off splits aren't as great, especially post De'Aaron Fox trade. He poses limitations defensively, too. This is a regular season award, though. And wire-to-wire, he's been really good. And the fact that he's done it he's had to assume a couple of different roles because of just the ground shifting around him. And I don't think that's through any fault. If you have a problem with the way the Kings look, maybe take it up with the front office who decided to build Bulls East. Is just
and are shocked, like, I can't believe this is working out.
The defense is pretty rough when Levine and Domas and DeRozan are on the floor.
And look, if we're going to credit, I guess I did it, but I think we both agree, like, credit Jokic for just continuing to be a rock amid, some pretty stormy seas, like organizationally. I think Sabonis might like take the cake there because like he's just been through it all with that. And like, no, the Kings did fire their coach. That was a thing that happened. They're probably going to fire their top executive.
Grant, like a responsible organization, they did it with more than 10 games left to play.
Right.
Shout out
right. Just that's all to say. Sabonis deserves like some good citizen credit for, not all he's doing is seeking clarity at the end of the season. He's not like, pitching a fit, which he probably should be.
Do you have, before we go through your ballot, do you have any questions about mine that you find interesting?
No, I think it's all reasonable. Like we're pretty close. I think maybe as I'm looking now before you pull mine up, there's 2 or 3 differences, and basically everybody that isn't on your first, second, or third team, or that I don't have, is like on an honorable mention, like 4th team or like tough omissions, basically.
Well, can you please take us through your All-NBA ballot then?
Yeah, so first team is same as the MVP ballot. It's just Jokic, Shea, Tatum, Giannis, Steph. Then I just Cavs it up on the second team because I didn't know what else. I just like all these guys are first team consideration. So sorry, Mitchell, Mobley, and Garland are all there. LeBron is there. Just give like the teensiest bit of first team consideration to LeBron and Edwards, and really everybody here got like a little bit at some point. So I would echo everything you said about Edwards. I think that's really well stated. It's just like there are flaws, like the playmaking, the passing decisions, the defensive, like he's in third gear for a lot of the time, and then like fifth gear is still pretty spectacular, but it's just not always there. But he's still just like such an overwhelming player that and the 3-point revolution that he underwent this year is like, I mean, he can't be lower than second team for me. LeBron's still great. So third team, I think, is where we have a couple differences. So I also have Brunson. I did move Cade down to third team, which I don't feel good about. I think, again, like he's going to feature in some other awards we'll talk about. Jaren Jackson, same thing. It's a full season award, so he makes it there. The offensive growth, he's still a great defender. I have Tyrese Halliburton. I think I skew towards like role, like importance of role versus like Sabonis, just to draw the comparisons. Like I think Halliburton is just so integral and is such a value add all the time on offense, and Sabonis is that too. It's a tough call. I have Alperen Şengün. Like, I don't know. We got to credit somebody for the Rockets. Like, and it's not, I'm not just tossing it off, but like he has proven to be good enough defensively to be a key part of an awesome defense. Like he's not the reason they're good. There's, I don't know, 3 to 5 players you might mention before him, but he plays center for a team that is an awesome defense. Like he's not hurting it. And then offensively, he's got a lot of the same Sabonis stuff minus the stretch of just is a great passer. He's, has been super productive, has gotten those Jokic light comparisons, which are silly, but like the numbers are kind of there. So yeah, I think where this gets interesting is, do you have any questions, like quibbles before we get to like, oh my God, I don't know if you have the honorable mention slide stuff, but like the fourth team is stacked too. And it's full of guys. It's like, how could we not fit them?
Well, so yeah, I guess I'm going to mention some names that would be on the fourth team honorable mentions, which we have a lot of the same. We both have a spoiler, like Ivica Zubats is absolutely a
Yeah,
fourth team honorable
that was
mention here.
tough. This last like month of the year, I was like, oh god, I'm shorting this guy way too much in like several categories. He's great.
So leaving Karl Anthony Towns off, I
Yeah.
think is going to be seen as somewhat controversial. What is the impetus behind that?
I guess it comes down to two things. While acknowledging that, like offensively, he's spectacular. He's not the most important offensive player on his team. And I think defensively, it's sort of just an echo of what you said. It's like I think he's a problem defensively. Like he's the biggest. Well, I guess you'd throw Brunson in there, but Brunson doesn't play nearly as important of a position defensively. I think Cat's poor rim defense, which got better. Like I'm not anchoring to the beginning of the year where what was the number? It was like opponents were shooting like 80% at the rim or something.
I'm pretty sure that number held fairly like serve against the Celtics in particular. So.
Right. I think he takes a lot off the table. And that has and look, I have him honorable mention. Like I have him as like a fourth, quote unquote, fourth team guy. I think Şengün just that's probably the guy I would bump if I had to put Cat on a team. But I think I might put Zubats if I had to take somebody from honorable mention territory. I think it's probably Zubats.
I kind of, not that I wish I did this in retrospect, but if you were going to bump Towns or if you were going to have, I definitely would have, the name that I struggled with the most, it came down to a pacer of whether it was Tyrese Halliburton or Pascal Siakam. I just feel like wire to wire, Siakam's season's been underappreciated. Like been kind of a stalwart offensively, and then he helped solve a lot of their defensive issues. So if you were going to leave off Towns, I probably would have rather seen Siakam over Şengün or Halliburton. But like, I think Şengün is like, would be my biggest contestable point here, and that's just okay. Well, look at what he did for the Rockets.
Yeah. Some other names maybe we haven't. So James Harden. I mean, late push. And both of us. This will be a surprise. J-Dub did not make one of the. Actually, J-Dub's probably going to make a real life team, don't you think?
Yeah. So after I filled out my ballot and I was reading and listening to stuff, I was actually surprised at how many people had him on one of the three teams. I think it's perfectly fine. Like I'm not mad about it, but I was a little bit surprised.
Yeah. But I mean, sorry, like all these 15 guys we have are spectacular. There's only so many spots.
Well, and it's like, that's with like Kevin Durant, not eligible. I mean, would you have picked him with what happened? I mean, like Wemby, not eligible there. Chet Holmgren, not eligible. So,
well, usual suspects like Bam would be in this. Anthony Davis, like there's so many guys that for one reason or another aren't there that normally would be like, of course, Anthony Davis and Bam are going to be in the mix.
So if you had your fictional fourth team, what are you have to narrow it down to 5. I know you listed like 20 names.
So my fictional fourth team would be Siakam, Cat, Zubats, Harden, and J-Dub.
We're actually pretty similar. I have Harden, Halliburton, Zubats, J-Dub, and Siakam there. With Trae Young, although he was being a petulant little crap hole.
Well, he sure was.
That playing game, but I gave him some consideration there too. Can you take us through the defensive player of the year?
Yeah, so here we are in lockstep at number 1. We both have Evan Mobley. I think you mentioned a lot of what warrants his position here in the All NBA and MVP stuff. To me, like this is some like subjective.
Well, what are your proprietary metrics?
My proprietary metrics have him as insanely versatile, an excellent rim protector. Ooh. And like that's good enough when you're great at those two things to be a defensive player of the year. This is let's all nudge each other and say Wemby like is just the best defensive player in the league and he doesn't qualify. So, but hey, tough. You got to make it through the year. And Mobley did. I mean, I don't know what's the case against him. Like, did you think very hard about another person? Like seriously? Because I think Mobley was. I didn't waver very much on it.
No, he was my actual clear cut. I thought when we did this at like the 3/4 mark and Wemby had been what we knew he was going to be ineligible, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s case was so much stronger. But you dig into the minutes he spends at center, they're not like great or as good as they should be. And then coupled with the Grizzlies downslide there didn't help him. This felt like a clear. I've seen the case against him, or I've seen others. John Hollinger had Amen Thompson. I still generally am of the mind that it's tougher for perimeter-based players to shape defenses as much, but Mobley, I think, more than Amen, more than even Bam, like he blurs the line between everything because of what he
Right.
does. And I think the strongest, not the, I didn't even find it very compelling, but I guess the most common case I saw against him was, well, teams are going at him late in games. And I view that as more of like, I went back and watched some of it and I felt this is my proprietary impressions are, I just felt like they did that to make his focus more singular. And it was, we don't want him being able to muck up things either near the basket or just as a help defender. And
Mhm.
that's how I interpret it. Maybe that's the wrong way of looking at it. And I also didn't find it like egregious for most of the year, at
Mhm.
least. But there are some people that did. But I didn't. I have other people on my ballot, but this was like with Wemby gone, there was Mobley, and then there was like kind of a gap for me.
Yeah, I think so too. So I love that we have different number 2 and number 3, and like I can't argue with any of yours. Like it's just these guys are all so good. So I have Draymond too. Look, I'll admit the bias again.
Are you a podcast subscriber to his?
Yeah, right. I still think you're not going to find someone that is reading and diagnosing and like putting out fires faster. I still think he is the best defensive like mind in the NBA, and there's enough in like the physical toolkit still to where like you don't ever go at him. Like I don't like there's no point guard, there's no wing that's like, oh good, I got Draymond switched on to me. Like that's an absolute non-starter. Somehow as a good rim protector at 6'5" or whatever, is just like if we keep bringing up like well-rounded and complete, like as a defender I don't know who's more complete. I think Mobley just has the youth and length and athleticism advantages. Mobley's not a smarter defender and Mobley, like, and again no one goes at Draymond, so I think I feel good with him there. And then I did put Thompson third. His case is just different. There's some of the versatility stuff. um I just think like from a pure like athleticism and physicality standpoint, he's just like the most intimidating, terrifying guy on and off the ball because of like just how quickly he's able to move, how explosive he is, and how aggressive he is defensively. So he's about as high as I can go with a wing. If you even really want to call him a wing, I don't even know what I would call him positionally because he's all over the place.
I struggled with him. I mean, he's going to make my first team all defense, but it was sort of like I view it through a similar lens as the Thunder, to where it's like the Rockets have so many good defensive
Mhm.
players. And it was like, if I'm not trying to force Jalen Williams or Lou Dort into the top three, I wasn't going to do it with, I think and it like had Amen maybe been playing all these minutes from the start of the year, that would have made it easier for me. But yeah, it's just, I think you go with any Draymond. I do think, I'm not saying you're doing this, and he's been spectacular, but I really do think that he campaigned for this at the end
Oh
of the year.
yeah.
So people are like, oh, you know what? Yeah, like, yeah, he might be right. I
Yeah.
think he's been great, but there was just like, maybe not so much the beginning of the year, but it felt like there was just like this chunk of the season where it wasn't the same. And maybe
Mhm.
he was an active participant in it. He didn't suck.
Yeah.
But I also think this is kind of the year where I think based off who was available, eligible to make this team, you probably could have selected like 21st team all defense guys. And I'm not going to give like a ton of pushback on it.
Yeah. Make the Zubats case because I'm glad you have him. And I won't argue. Oh wait, you haven't even talked about Bam yet.
Bam is my number 2, which is funny because I think I had him in my top 3, I think at the beginning of the year, and then he never appeared here again. The Heat were 8th in points allowed per possession, and the defensive talent around him is like some of the advanced metrics like it. And I know Jimmy Butler was there for a minute, but like
But
kind of not. And it's
but he
like,
wasn't really there.
right. And like you have Haywood Highsmith, but it's like Jaime Jaquez Jr. ended up with his face on a milk carton. Like we saw, Khalil Ware might have a ton of promise. Like, I don't view that dude as like, yeah, when when you have 2 bigs in the front, like that's not someone who's elevating your defense. Like you're playing
No.
with Jovic and you've played with, I mentioned Hero, the Terry Rozier minutes have been a disaster this year. I think he probably wins it if he's just a better rim protector because he kind of, I
Mhm.
think part of that was like personnel and the responsibility he's shouldering. But last year they were sort of, oh, look at what Bam's doing at the rim. And that was gone this year. Zubats is the most important, or I'll say the highest volume defender on what is, I would say, if you're just looking, forget about the numbers, even though they have the second best defense against top 10 offenses. I think the Clippers have the second most dangerous defense in the league behind Oklahoma City. Maybe the Rockets should be thrown in there, or Golden State. Zubats' rim protection has been great, but like, look at the minutes he plays. Look at what he's able to do on the perimeter and help blow up plays there. That is like, this is someone who I don't know if we definitely weren't talking about him like this a half decade or so ago.
No.
He's in the 88th percentile of opponent field goal percentage allowed at the rim versus expected. He's just been like an anchor for just this terrific defense all year long. And I think when you measure that rim protection against, well, like kind of look at what he's had to do against some of like quicker players or coming to the outside and like being able to defend these different types of actions, like with screens and like tracking both sides of the pick and roll. I've just been really impressed with him this year. And so I think he shouldered a more complex defensive workload while getting better and shouldering a more complex offensive workload. That doesn't factor in here, but that's definitely a feather or 8 in his cap.
Yep. I'm glad you had him again. Like, and Bam is, I'll be honest, I was surprised to see Bam, even though I do remember early on you had him and it's like, well, yeah, of course. I think he's a good example of like, sometimes we just sort of, I don't know, like I have Draymond on my ballot, so it's not like, but I think like we can sort of forget like the obvious sometimes, or we're looking for the next whatever. And Bam is, again, like, the rim protection has always, outside of like last year for sure, and a couple other years, been like you want more out of him rim protection wise. But I mean, the guy's been the defensive anchor on finals teams, and the guy, like, he is maybe, I keep bringing this up, but it's like it's true of all the really great big guy defenders. Like, you never go at this guy. Like, he's an avoid at all costs. Like, if you're on the ball. So I like that you have him there. I think it's we may. I think there's a chance like next year he'll just be right here again, and it'll be like, yeah, what were we doing? Like, why didn't we have him?
What team will he be playing for when he's
Well,
when he's here? Yeah.
great question.
Can you take us through your all defense team?
I have Mobley, obviously, Green, Amin Thompson. That's my 1, 2, 3 on DPOY. I also have Jaren Jackson Jr. He fits the same bill as, like, he's mobile. He's a good roving rim protector. He makes a mess of offensive possessions. Hard guy to go at. Doesn't have a lot of weaknesses defensively, except for the fouling, and that gave me a lot of pause. Because it's just, you really can't watch a game and not like actually just in real time be like, well, you can't do that. Like, that was a dumb,
Yeah.
They did it against the Warriors in the playing game, had a foul 90 feet from the basket. And it's just like, what are we, like, how is this still happening? So small reservation does not detract from the whole thing. So Jalen Williams makes my first team. And that has a lot to do with him being probably the best rim protecting wing in the league. And he played center for a long time. We've talked about it ad nauseum. I think he is someone that on the ball, great. Off the ball, probably even better. Because he's super long and he's very smart and he gets in the passing lanes, tons of deflections, elite help defender. You can get as granular as you want, like whether that's stepping in from, leaving a guy in the corner to come in and take a charge, whether that's doubling at the nail, whatever you need to have done on defense, like, he'll just be great at it. And so I think I leaned on that versatility in putting him first team. I feel like I'm over justifying, but
I actually wonder if I think he definitely would have finished in top 3, but I wonder what the groundswell would have been for him to win the award, as either take one of them off the team or just what if Chet Holmgren and or Isaiah Hartenstein to continue to battle all these injuries or something?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he might have won it.
So he's not going to be first team, like, in the real award season, I don't think. And he's a little bit of a victim of, like, it's kind of like what I did with the Cavs and all NBA. It's like, oh, there's too many. I don't know what to do. Just put them on second or third and we'll call it good.
Your first team's consistent in the sense that you've probably chosen 5 of the 7 most versatile defenders in the end. Like, maybe Tamani Kamara, OG Anunoby would be like there, but like you've chosen like the 5, like arguably the 5 most versatile defenders in the league. So
yeah, well, and on my second team, I got at least one more because I do have Tamani Kamara there. And alongside Rudy Gobert, it's just like, let's not overthink this. He's still, he is another guy that had some ebbs and flows this season, but has been, had a pretty consistent long stretch of, like, yeah, he's still one of the most impactful guys. Zubats is there. I have Lou Dort. God knows how many Thunder would have been on here if they'd qualified, but I think he's kind of undeniable as an on-ball guy.
Do you know what kind of stinks about this, though, is that because there were players that weren't eligible, or because we look at the supporting cast, like, people have just decided that Lou Dort doesn't matter as much. Like, when I've read and listened to a lot of these all defense stuff where it's, well, he has like this singular focus. I'm like, yeah, and it's the toughest thing. Like, there's 1 or 2 players that like spend more time guarding superstars than he does. And that's just good luck screening this dude. And people are like, yeah, but he flops and like he draws these ticky-tack offensive fouls. Good. for
Yeah,
Oklahoma City. That's part of it.
that's a skill. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you may not like it, but he is skilled at that thing. Then I had Dyson Daniels at the last spot. I, I gave that some thought just because it's like, the 3 steals a game is nuts, and it almost never happens. Hasn't happened for a really long time. And I don't want to just overrate the disruption, but he's an eye test guy too. Like the numbers, he's just like causes so many problems. And then you watch him chase guys around and you watch him just tip every ball. And it's like, he's really messing stuff up for the offense.
Yeah, I think a couple people picked him to win it. I just struggled because I don't ascribe a ton of value to the Hawks defense being better with him off the floor, but I
No.
don't think if you were going to go that route, I really do think that the pick for defensive player of the year should be Amen Thompson or Jalen Williams, because I don't think he does as much of like the lower guy
Yeah.
stuff. And part of that is because he's up top and
Mhm.
what I do appreciate about him is that he is guarding the toughest player. And yes, I've seen people say that he's not gambling. He is absolutely
Oh
gambling.
yeah.
But so many of when you look at the steals rather than the deflections, like these are a lot of on ball steals. So they are gambles, but it's while he's not coming in all the time as like the second guy. So
Mhm.
I have a ton of appreciation for that. And I think if you decided, hey, we want him to be our Lou Dort and we don't want him to go after counting stats, that he could fulfill that too. I get a little bit. I still value I don't think he's as versatile as some people have made him. I think there are limitations if he's going up against bigger players and around the basket more so than some of the other guys.
Mhm.
Which suffice it to say, I don't have any qualms with who you picked because we have 9 of the same 10 guys, and I put Dyson Daniels on my first team.
Yeah, you're really talking him down just to plop him up there on your first team.
I have Evan Mobley, Dyson Daniels, Bam, Amen Thompson, and Zubats. I don't think we need any other notes on these. My second team is Jaren Jackson Jr. The fouling coupled with I just don't think he's been as good over this the last quarter of the year.
Mhm.
And also, I will say I saw this joke, and the one that I had thought about, this wasn't the joke I saw. This is the time of year we haven't done it. I actually think I started the podcast saying the exact opposite of it. Is how everyone doing these podcasts, these hosts say, after watching all these games and doing all the work and looking at all the numbers and like really studying this, but it's also the time of year. I thought about it when I saw this. I saw someone post like every podcast ever is these awards are basically based off after the All-Star break. I'm kind of like, I fall victim to that too a little bit. Like Jaren Jackson Jr. is a good example here, but it is an entire season thing. So it didn't knock him off all defense, but it took him off my first team. He's second team along with Tamani Kamara. Draymond Green made second team for any Warriors fans that are mad at me that Grant had him in the top 3 of defensive player of the year. I didn't. Gobert, you mentioned everything with him, but the Wolves are just basically the best defense in the league with him on the court.
Yeah, which tends to keep happening year after year, basically.
I ended up, Lou Dort was my first team last time, and I think I think I might have been overweighting he's on the Thunder, and I felt like someone needed to be there, and I really believe that it should be Bam on first team. But I think he's great, and I think he's almost undervalued in the same way that Klay Thompson was undervalued, where he doesn't have the same counting stats as these other guys on defense. And it's look at what he's doing, and they might, but they don't need to help. The stuff that it's not even covers up because they're so talented, but the stuff he allows everybody else to do, that is part of his lift. And I think it gets overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Biggest snubs for me, I had OG Anunoby. I gave a lot of consideration to. I just don't think on a possession by possession basis he's been as good. I thought about J-Dub, of course. Dylan Brooks has probably become a little underappreciated, and someone who I think had like a really good, had he never like missed that time and was like this, Andrew Nemhard would probably
we both had him in like the fourth team or actually third team. Like, can we get him on there? And couldn't do it. I had Keegan Murray. He quietly is. I think he's right. I remember the number is 53% defensive field goal percentage allowed inside 6 feet, which is like, that's a great number for a center. And that's, I think I was either 5 or 6 field goals defended per game. So it's like not a small number. There are a lot of centers like that. Like I can't think of a name off the top, but like there's plenty of centers that don't get that much volume in rim defense and are also worse. So you credit him a lot of times like, oh my God, remember that series where he stuck with Steph Curry, or like he's a great perimeter defender, but like the rim protection is real. And so wanted to throw him a bone. Jaden McDaniels kind of feels lifetime achievement-y. I had OG. Can we talk? And I had Bam.
Is it Jaden McDaniels like 23 years old and you just said kind of feels lifetime achievement-y?
Well, I mean, not lifetime achievement, I guess, in the sense of like, it's a little like Bam. It's like, we all know he's like really great. It's just like, it's just, I don't know, for some reason, this isn't the year he's getting acknowledged for it. The did not qualify list is bonkers. So like just to take 5 names: Wemby, Alex Caruso, Asar Thompson, Chet Holmgren, Chris Dunn. And Chris Dunn not qualifying is really stupid, and that's maybe the best argument for changing the rule.
I go back and forth on that because I'm just sort of like, shouldn't we reward higher minutes guys for all defense?
Just don't disqualify him. Let us decide. If you know what I mean, like let us decide if Dunn playing under 20 minutes this many times or whatever, how you apples to orange that with someone that plays a ton. Like we can do it. We'll figure it out.
I think my hottest take, because I would have considered him had he been eligible, is I might prefer Asar Thompson on defense to Amen Thompson.
That's fine with me. He's really great. Hartenstein was another guy I think would have gotten some love.
List every single player on this.
Jason Wallace. What's it?
I think he deserves an honorable mention there. Next up, I believe it's I'll take us through this one. Rookie of the year. I grappled with this one. We ended up with the same one too. Jalen Wells, who's done for the season insofar as the Grizzlies season even has any games left, and has one more in the play-in with his wrist injury. Steph Castle at number 2. Just starting there, I understand that Steph Castle's offensive role was harder. Jalen Wells has like the 5th highest matchup difficulty on defense in the league while playing a bunch of minutes for a team that won almost 50 games. And this isn't a huge part of his argument because it happened at the end of the year. He got injured and the Grizzlies were basically like, well, what the fuck are we supposed to do? And it's like Scottie Pippen or Vince Williams Jr., like they all become so much more important. That was the load he was carrying. Now, Steph does a lot more on offense. Castle, that is the better passer. I think he showed a lot of signs there. He's a pretty good finisher so far. I can't get past the efficiencies from the perimeter. And you could talk about self-created shot making, the shot quality. Jalen Wells' shot quality this year, so expected effective field goal percentage on the shots he took, was actually lower than what Steph Castle's was. So in a lot of that, look, Steph gets to the rim more. Like I get it. But I tried to look at this as if I was picking who I think is going to be the better pro, I believe it's Steph Castle. But I'm also trying to look at like, this is rookie of the year, not rookie of the draft.
Right.
So
it's a different conversation.
Right. And so I am higher on Steph than Wells long term. I just think he's more dynamic. But I do come back to the fact that if you are this inefficient for this long to where you're, damaging your team's offense and like, you're put into this high volume role by necessity at points for sure. I just couldn't get there. All that said, I do reward the volume. I do reward just the breadth of his skill set. You'll see it when we talk about the all rookie teams where I think we both have he who will be named soon where a lot of other people did not. So I really do appreciate the difficulty. I don't think Jalen Wells had it easy in Memphis at any point defensively this year. And look at some of the players I've seen. This is what I can't wrap my head around. Some of the justifications against him that I think I mostly listened to these was, well, like he just doesn't hold up against like the Luka Doncic's or LeBron Jameses too well.
Okay.
All right. Sure. Okay. The fact that he has to guard them at all, if we're going to reward Steph for the difficulty on offense of that, like he has an outsized role when it comes to his body archetype on the defensive end. And you know what? For most of the year, he did it really well. And I had Steph initially on this final run, I think maybe for the first time ever, because Jalen Wells like didn't shoot the ball too well to close the year.
Yeah.
But it's a full season award. And I think that he was the more valuable rookie, certainly to the better team for the entire season.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I just like, I don't know if you know this, Dan, this is a down year for rookies. Not a lot of people love this class.
I'll say this question when we get to all rookies, because I have a question about this class for you.
So yeah, Wells just is kind of a one of one in terms of played a starting role all season and was a helpful two-way player for a very good team. Like that's kind of the case. Like, I guess if that's not what you think rookie of the year is, then fine. Then it's probably Castle, or you could go anywhere on the board really. So I had Reath third. You had Klingon third. I have no issue. Like Klingon, I think pretty clearly demonstrated. Like I think we started talking about like, does he have a superpower? In evaluating players, and like, yeah, he's like the offensive rebounding, the rim protection. He's got plenty of flaws, like most very very big men do, but like he made a massive impact in like the things you want him to impact. I went with Reath. He just kind of slowly met expectations of like, yeah, he's going to be a helpful catch and shoot guy that can move off the ball, like cuts well, is in the right place. And then like nudged it up a little bit by like becoming very, very efficient as a 3-point shooter over the last couple months of the year. So I wanted to reward that. I don't know what to think of his ceiling. I still think the safe bet is that it's like, good starter, which is what Wells was this year, just to drive that point home. So yeah, we could have gone through probably 10 guys for, I think,
Yeah.
third place here.
And it came down to Klingon or Ricochet, or I think Edie with me. What
Mhm.
ended up being a big differentiator is Klingon was playing, and this was not all year, but like he was playing a lot of higher leverage minutes for a team that was really involved in the play-in, which I viewed I know Ricochet was doing that for the Hawks, but he doesn't have necessarily a superpower. And like the rim
Right.
protection of Klingon being this defensive base for
Mhm.
Portland, there's that being said, though, if you look and said, well, like Edie's more offensively dynamic, or so is Ricochet because Klingon can't catch a pass, can't finish around the basket. I totally get it. It's like you
Yeah.
said, there are 10 names you probably could have slotted into here.
Mhm.
Speaking of 10 names, we get to my all rookie teams. My first team is Wells, Steph Castle, Donovan Klingon. I had Ricochet and then Edie Rondo. I don't know if there's any notes there. I am curious. I don't know what Ricochet shielding is either. My second team, Yves Misi, Kyle Filipowski, Khalil Ware, Modest Buzelis, Alex Sarr. I think Yves Misi's case is probably the strongest of anyone on this because he's been doing it all year. And I think where he really improved, even if you wanted him to do some of the traditional big man stuff better, we'll see whether this matters anymore. But like he really learned how to play in less than ideal spacing and also alongside Zion Williamson. And
Mhm.
so like that, to do that kind of midstream when he was where he kind of broke out while Zion was injured, big. I think you could make the case that, and David Locke of the Locked On Podcast Network already has, that Kyle Filipowski is the best offensive rookie of the year. Just the passing, the touch from the outside, the movement, he can bring the ball up the floor. I think he's been great. The only other rookie to match his effective field goal percentage while taking as many threes is Chet Holmgren.
Mhm.
So that's big. Modest Buzelis, better shooter than I expected, slightly better passer, at least when you're kind of looking at the real than I expected, and then way better, just like defensively, he can do some big man stuff, even though
Yeah.
like he more so profiles as a wing. Sarr, this is the name that I've seen a lot of people leave off. That's sort of the Castle case to me where I just find value in the volume. He played a ton. He wasn't in the best setting. There is no A-plus playmaker at any point this year on the Washington Wizards. And so like, even when he's being set up, is he going to be in these ideal situations? Now he was like, they were kind of forcing him. And I think that makes sense is like, no, you're not going to, they let him explore. But as an example, Zach Edey had more made unassisted 2-point field goals than Alex Sarr this year, which is just kind of weird when you look at their situations to think about. Also, here is the stuff that stood out. He went through stretches where he shot really well from three this year. Me and you have talked about the defensive playmaking. I think as he gets stronger and even smarter, that he's going to be a pretty viable defensive anchor. I think the passing is the thing that I just didn't understand about him. Like the ability to bring the ball up the floor, seeing
Mhm.
things from a standstill, even some live dribble stuff. And so, Grant, here's every rookie to have 100 plus blocks, assists, and made threes in a season: Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama, and Alex Sarr.
Pretty good.
Cherry picked to an extent, not nearly as efficient, but I remain, and this is the question I'll get as you go through your all rookie teams. I'll let you ask me any questions about mine first. Is just, I'm kind of wondering if you're redrafting the 2024 class with the goal of not taking the best player from this season, but who you're highest on long term. I wanted to know like who you would take number one overall.
Just thinking about what's like highest ceiling, basically.
Obviously, I think this year, and I mean, if you want to say Reed Shepard, because I might still, if it was me, I might still take Reed Shepard. I
Uh-huh.
certainly won't take Cody Williams. I'll tell you that much. But like, based, of course, off what you've seen this year, has it changed your like? Would you just take Ricochet again? Is it Sarr? Is it Castle?
I, I think I think it's just Castle.
Fair.
And that's pricing in that the floor is really low because he was a deeply damaging player this year because of the inefficient scoring and the ways that you can guard him with guys that like you just don't have to worry about him as an off ball player. I just think Castle has like all the other ingredients you'd want in like a star guard slash wing. But then to your point, Sar would rank pretty high on that list too, even with because it's making me feel guilty for like because I think he is kind of the big guy version of Castle because the 2-point finishing is just like historically terrible. But I just excused the inefficiency for Castle and I didn't for Sar. So I feel like Sar might still be the correct number 2 pick. I wouldn't be like
I
shocked by that.
I think there's a version where if neither of those players hits their anything close to their best case outcomes, then Sarr is just the better player to have. He feels like he
Maybe.
would scale. to different roles better.
I think that's true.
I mentioned Khalil Ware, and this is where I'll throw it to you. I'm not going to lie. I was kind of bullied into this without anyone bullying me into it. Everyone else has him. I watch him. I don't see it. I probably would have preferred to put Bub Carrington, but I do look at the 2-point finishing being the lob threat, just the idea of the shooting touch, even though the percentages don't align. So I get it, but I don't see it. I put him on second team anyway, and I'll throw yours up as we do that.
Yeah, so I had him as a second teamer. So my first team, Wells, Castle, Reath Shea. I did have Edie. It was tough between him and Klingon. You kind of, illustrated some of the differences. I feel like Edie is just more mobile. Edie does, I think, project as someone who might have more offensive value, and that's accounting for Klingon just being such a load on the offensive boards. Like Edie's actually phenomenal. Like that's a borderline superpower for him too. I just threw Jared McCain on there, Dan, because this rookie class was not great, and he was clearly the best one in it until he got hurt, and that's enough. Not enough most years, but if you're not going to put the games played limit on me for this category, then I'm just going to pick the guy that was running away with Rookie of the Year before he got hurt.
By the way, there's no, when it comes to sixth man, all rookie and rookie of the years, you are not beholden to the game's minimum for, I don't necessarily understand it, but
weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
So my second team, I had Klingon, I had Bazelis, I had Ware. And I acknowledge all the things you mentioned about Ware. It's a tools play. It's like he's that big, he's that athletic. Maybe he can shoot it. Defensively, he's got miles to go in terms of like diagnosing what is happening and where to be and when to be there, that kind of stuff. But he's a rookie, and playing defense as a rookie is hard. Misi's there. I threw my guy Quentin Post on there.
My guy.
I think he's everybody's guy.
I'm sorry, doesn't he kind of look like Donovan Klingon trying to be incognito at like
is that beard glued on in the picture? Yeah. Is that what you're saying? Man, if Donovan Klingon could shoot like Quentin Post, he would have been the number one pick. I'll tell you that. Post does have a superpower. He is one of the best shooters in the NBA at any position, period. Now, he's not coming off the dribble, but as a catch and shoot guy, he's just a legit 40% plus shooter. And I think that's a real thing. And I think that does really matter. I think in a normal year, you'd be like, cool. So he's like Mike Muscala, or, it's not that interesting to me. I think he's got
the Lakers are going to trade the next Ivica Zubac.
You're going to trade Zubac for him? That's so funny that I still can't think of Zubac without thinking of Mike Muscala. Like it's forever going to be.
It's like the Nuggets kind of never giving a real chance to Isaiah Hartenstein or Jay Huff.
Well, do you also think about Donovan Mitchell when you bring up the Nuggets? Because that was Mitchell for Trey Lyles. Remember that on draft night?
What in that alternate reality, what happens with like Jamal Murray and like,
I don't know.
That's another fun one. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to find out personally. He would have been more helpful than Trey Lyles, I think. Just to put a little Homer button on Post. There's a little tiny bit of like, oh, he kind of like sees passing angles just like once in a while. And like, oh, he knows where guys are, which is like, that might not seem like a big deal, but for a rookie big guy that's basically a specialist, I think there's a tiny bit more that like in terms of just like feel and like defensively, I don't know what the ceiling is just because he's not strong enough and it's just hard for him to like hold up underneath. But there's more than just, oh, he's going to come in and play 12 minutes and maybe hit 4 threes and maybe not. And that's his contribution.
You will be vindicated if he is able to stay on the floor at any point against the Rockets. But I will say, I don't think he's good defensively, but he's been better as like the vertical rim protector who you can't have him like shimmying around and make it. But his rim protection numbers also aren't terrible. I expected him to be like Towns level with that stuff. And the Warriors have streamlined what he does, of course. But so, I mean, if you can stay on the floor, I don't care how bad, like if you're able to stay on the floor, your team feels that they need to play you as a rookie in the play-in game or the playoff series, you're vindicated there.
This is the most grizzled coach ass thing I may have ever said, but like, I don't think he's just 7 feet tall and can shoot. I think there's a basketball player in there. I think like the way he executes dribble handoffs is like, that looks natural.
This is all to say, can we get rid of second team all rookie and get either a fourth team all NBA or third team all defense? I don't need a second
Look
team.
What we're talking about right now.
Next up, can you take us through our most improved player since it's the same?
So we both got Mobley number 1. We both got Cade number 2. And I think we arrived there similarly. by valuing like high level improvements that are consequential and like pretty, Cade's harder. Mobley's like, well, he shot threes more and better, and he learned how to drive really hard, and he couldn't do that before. Like, that's okay. And he's great. And he's
And
an all NBA player.
He was good enough to where the Cavs had to find a way to take away usage from Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Cunningham just made the leap to like, he was not an all-star, and then he was in one fell swoop an all-star and all NBA player.
Can I interject there for a second? Because
Mhm.
I do, it fits the consequence where it's like this guy went from even call him an all-star beforehand to like, I considered him, he was one of the guys that I'd circled for 5th spot on my MVP ballot.
Mhm.
That being said, I think people were too low on Cunningham to begin with, that his performance this season has almost become outsized, not relative to its impact, but to how good he already was. Like the defense, the rebounding, even like kind of the nose for getting the team out in transition. I
Mhm.
get it all. But like when you're kind of digging into the stuff that I wanted him to improve upon the most, like he's incrementally better at that rather than, oh, like he just made this like Larry Markkinen size jump or even a Mobley size jump in those areas.
Yeah, I think for him too, I think you're right. And credit to you for being like a little bit of an early Cade adopter, or like you were higher on him, I think, the consensus. And that turned out to be right. But like, did you see the post up stat for him? I think it was
Oh yeah.
Fred Katz at some point this year for the Athletic. He's just like, he's not necessarily scoring that much in post ups, but when he posts up, like the points per play is just higher than like, Jokic or anybody but Jokic or whatever. So that's a huge point of growth. And defensively, I don't think it's like it's
No, the
out of bounds to say like he's a huge factor in Detroit being a good defense. It's not just Asar Thompson. It's not just like beef stew. It's not he really is a huge reason why the Pistons are good defensively. And like I don't think last year you would have been like, well, Cade's the only reason they're like getting by. Like that's not it.
No, and I mean just the level of the only thing I would add to that is the it's not that he's good defensively and they're insulating him. It's he's good defensively and sometimes he's not good. But when you look at who he has to guard a lot of the time, like
Yeah.
they're not hiding him. So I think
No.
that's important too.
So I've got Dyson Daniels. I don't love that pick. I'll justify it. Like he became, we knew he was a good or like an interesting defender. That was very limited offensively. He became a great defender that there are some uses now offensively, like the floater stuff. He still doesn't really get guarded offensively, but like he's someone I think now that look, he wasn't a throw in, but it was like nobody at the time other than like total diehards were like, I don't know. I kind of like what the Hawks got in the Murray deal. Whatever you thought about Murray, he's just become a great defender that has value on offense. And he was like interesting and didn't have offensive value before. So it's kind of a little bit of a two-way improvement.
Yeah, and look, this is what I struggle with, but I think like for most improved for me, you mentioned it being consequential, and I'm always I used to feel bad about I wouldn't pick a second year player, and I don't have Christian Brown on here because I'm reticent to even pick a third year player at this point because I do think they're supposed to improve, and I think people have kind of overblown this award's just become the guy who signed a max contract getting better.
Hmm.
Go look through who won, and the instances of that are just not like Tyrese Maxey when he won it. He was not my pick, to be clear. Like he wasn't even on his max contract yet. He didn't sign the extension, so I'm trying to look at it as just like these mid-career leaps, or even if you're going from, okay, I'm in my 4th year and I went from fringe all-star to MVP candidate, those are going to be more meaningful to me than if you, the Dyson Daniels stuff, I've seen everyone say, man, if Ty Jerome had qualified, he would have won it. My whole thing is, I think it'd be cool to have who's the most surprising player award because I think Dyson Daniels might fit. When you're at number, no one remembers who finishes second.
Right. And I already said I don't feel good about it.
Right.
I like your pick better than mine for number 3.
I went with Zubats. We got into a lot of the defensive stuff already, but he just leveled up in every area. Like, no, he's not chucking threes, but like when you look at him being able to score in the post, the stuff he does, is it a hook shot? Is it a flip shot? I have no idea. The screen setting, that being able to just even run the floor. He's had to shoulder some more self-created load, like not a ton, but just like having that volume go up. And his numbers are like for, I mean, we're all counting stats people, but his career high before this season was averaging like 11.6 points per game and 11.7. He jumped to 16.8. This is someone, remember, people wondered, hey, is he ever going to be able to be effective if they did play him more than 25, 27 minutes a game? Yeah, because he played almost 33 per game this year for one of the best defenses in the league.
And like never missed games either. That's the thing.
80 games played into that. Like that's an aberration. So I think you could go a number of different areas here for number 3. And I don't like, you could go a number of different areas. Who do you think is going to win it?
I don't know what actually, this is a great question because I don't know what the betting odds are. I think Cade will probably win it. Don't you?
I think it's going to be Cade or Dyson is going to be
Okay.
the winner.
Yeah.
And needless to say, all those people are wrong because they didn't agree with us.
Some other, you want to throw out like a handful of names because there's like I think I agree with you on like the Ty Jerome of it all. Like if you're talking about biggest, I don't know, most surprising or like most growth, which is seems the same as most improved, but like if you take out the like level, like for the A to B, like did you go from good to great or whatever? Like Jerome went from like he maybe doesn't have a career to he's playing.
How much is it? The Cavs can't afford to keep him this summer?
Right, yeah, so like there's different levels to it, and you can throw a million guys in there like Brown and Pritchard and who else do I have?
Pritchard was a
Hero
good
made it.
Pritchard, I had fourth, and I
Mhm.
almost put him third. I just struggled to, and it was the same thing when we're going to get into six man of the year. It's how consequential is it when he's not someone who is likely to close games? That's more of a Celtics thing, but he's
Yeah,
like the perfect example. He's on his second contract, and it's just as an offensive rebounder, as a like everyone talks about the shooting, like the finishing, the passing. He probably would have been like if there was a most surprising player award, I guess Ty Jerome would have won it or Dyson Dale. But like he could have won either version of this award. I think like he's been that good.
yeah. Danny Avdia, Tyler Hero. Like, I mean, the Avdia thing is like beware the late season Portland player surge, but I think and also I think he was pretty high in most improved last year. So that's always a weird thing when guys
Yeah,
like back to
yeah.
back it. But I think Avdia is whatever. We can have a Denny Avdia podcast at some point. He's great.
My actual two picks for this did not qualify. I think Norman Powell or Trey Murphy
Yep.
deserved it. And Trey Murphy he needed to play in every game to qualify at one point, basically. So, but the Norm Powell one was tough because I think
Mhm.
he's done a great deal to improve. Six man of the year. So we have the same three candidates, just in a different order. I have Malik Beasley number one, DeAndre Hunter number two, Peyton Pritchard number three. You have Pritchard one, Beasley two, DeAndre Hunter three. I think Malik Beasley's this is not the thing people point to, but he's been better defensively the past 2 years than he's ever really been credited for. But the 3-point shooting, the spacing, some of the shots he could take off the dribble, he really opens up
Mhm.
Detroit's floor. So he kind of felt like the guy who I like to be like, well, I'm not just the conventional six man of the year candidate guy, but he's that. And then he's also a little bit more. So that's why he got it for me.
Yeah, I went Pritchard one. Although you're making a great case that like one between the like doesn't close and between and alongside like Beasley really does do things that unlock offensive options for the Pistons that just don't exist if he's not in the game. Whereas Pritchard is like, yeah, I mean he just comes in and smokes backups, but like he really smokes the backups. Like he's so good. He's another guy who like I can't knock him for not closing for the Celtics. Like
Yeah,
because he
that's fair.
closes for I don't know how many other teams, but it's a lot. And then we both had Hunter. I think the most impressive thing for Hunter is that he did it basically for two different teams.
Yeah.
And the second one was really, really good, and that mattered more. I
And they
think
had to scale him down offensively.
yeah. No, I think we could quibble over the order, but to me, this should be the top three. Like I mean, we'll talk about some other names. You have more than I do, but this feels right.
Yeah, I think, look, we could go towards Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Scottie Pippen Jr., Karis LeVert for much of the season, Ty Jerome, since there's not a minutes cap here. Santi Aldama, been really good this year. Also,
Mhm.
Naz Reid, who, did he win it last year? I think we both had him number
Yeah.
one. Was he the winner of it? Yeah. So
Yep.
he could have repeated, but I do think these are the three. Who would be the fourth most compelling candidate for you?
I think I had Pippen in the top three at points this year. I think he really is a starter that like is just he plays behind John Morant. He starts now that Jalen Wells is hurt. I like him the best there. Although this is another one where it's like, are we overthinking it by not just saying Naz Reid?
I, I, I think we're overthinking everything, it's safe to say.
That's the whole point of this.
Can you take us through coach of the year?
Sure. So let's see. We both have Kenny Atkinson at one. It's the case is what it like he just shows up and the team's got the best offense in the league and the talent is mostly the same. That does overlook the fact that Darius Garland was healthy and Mobley got better. But I don't know. I feel like it's hard to argue against him just because of the level the Cavs got to. And it's just again, it's the very good to great leap, which is like we always just reward that a little bit more. You've got Bickerstaff 2. I've got Mark Daignault 2. Bickerstaff's case is like his team tripled its win total. Do we need to discuss anything else?
Well, they've actually been like the offensive stuff, because they're still iffy there. I mean, they've been one of the best teams after timeouts, but do you look at the personnel on that team and say, oh yeah, they definitely were going to be a top 10 defense or even had a chance of being one?
Oh God, no, no chance. Like just no. Like how many Asar Thompsons did they clone? Would be my question with the question.
I also thought he did, and I think Ron Holland the second ended up playing all 82 games, right? Like the fact that he was still able, the Pistons were good, and he was still able to sprinkle in like real developmental reps or something like that. I just thought he did a really good job this year.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
And Duren got better. Jalen Duren got better, but at best he's like he's a complicated defensive figure.
I'm already calling it. I think I'm gonna hate the extension that he winds up signing this summer.
Okay, put a pin in that one. So I went with Daignault. Like it's a little bit of like we always just decide we can't discuss the guy that already won it. So I think that's kind of silly. But like the injuries to start the year required some pretty real ingenuity. And the defensive level he's got, like the personnel is awesome. Like there's no denying that he's been dealt, he got dealt the nuts. Like his hand is great, but like the defensive buy-in, the defensive intensity, offensively, I don't know. You can poke holes in the like, well, what about when Shea's not on the floor? Like, I don't know. They're doing the best they can with the.
And by the way, when it's two of their three other best offenses, like J-Dub, Isaiah,
pretty good.
They have the equivalent of like a top 2 offense when Shea's on the floor. Then
right. So I think he needs to be there. We both had Ty Lue third, which was not, I don't think we had him top 3 at any point earlier in the year. And it just became undeniable because the Clippers are top 10 in offense and defense after the break. And like, he's just a great coach.
You figure out a way to make Ben Simmons as basically your big work in minutes with Derek Jones Jr. You might as well, maybe he should win Coach of the Year.
Well, and navigate the early season without Kawhi, right. Coax whatever the hell has happened to Zubats out of Zubats, like
Powell too.
Powell's sudden like has the craziest late career leap we've ever seen. Harden is, you get through a year without Harden, like I don't know, they can't credit him for durability, but like didn't hear a peep of like dissatisfaction or oh he's not in shape. Like Harden just had a good year, and that offense did not have any business being as good as it was, and I don't think the defense did either. Well, maybe the defense did, but
well, you know what the key? I've heard sources have told me the key to James Harden's durability and performance this season inside the Intuit Dome, they actually have a champagne room, so he doesn't even need to leave. Is he could show up, get in the champagne room, get his training in and everything, same location. Smart,
very good, very good.
Everyone's favorite award. I actually think this is the one people care about the least. Executive of the Year.
I beg to differ.
Look, I understand people are going to pick Rob Pelinka, who got Luka Doncic. I just don't know how to weigh. Okay, you got Luka Doncic, but the best thing you did in that trade was keep it a secret, I guess, because you make that trade 11 times out of 10. Now, you could point to he did negotiate because they didn't give up all their first-round picks. I also think the Lakers nailed some other moves, the J.J. Redick hire for one, and then the Dorian Finney-Smith addition. But that's the player who saved their season. Like, Luka comes in, raises your playoff ceiling. They traded for Dorian Finney-Smith, and like the load that he's had to carry defensively, and he's just bombing threes for them. So I have him second, but I have Sam Presti. You look at the smaller stuff, the Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe contracts. You turn Josh Giddey, who ends up having a pretty good season for the Bulls, into Alex Caruso, who's not playing a ton for you, but just like, just another all defense type player under our tool belt here. Getting Isaiah Hartenstein in the first place, and we did forget, or I forgot it when we were regrading last trade deadline. The Gordon Hayward trade didn't work out, but you weren't just making that trade for Gordon Hayward. You made it so that you could clear space that allowed you to then go sign Isaiah Hartenstein, who proves even more critical because of the time that Chet Holmgren missed. I know some of it overlapped, but so just A+ across the board for him. And then I have Trajan Langdon, to where like the Pistons moves where I guess his biggest move would be drafting, like that front office drafting Ron Holland. And it probably wasn't their best, but like getting Malik Beasley, changing the culture, hiring JB Bickerstaff.
Yeah.
I think using your cap space to get Dennis Schroeder to where you've helped the non-Cade minutes and also found a way to give Cade some in-game breaks there. Just a lot of good stuff from the Pistons.
Yeah.
And your top 3 are who?
I have Sam Presti 1 for all the reasons you said. AJ Mitchell he got hurt, so everybody's forgotten about him, but he was going to make an all rookie team. just like we're drafting guys out of UC Santa Barbara. I think that's where it came from.
I got killed for this when I did a 2024 redraft. I don't know if it's still this because he just hasn't played so much. I would take AJ Mitchell in the lottery right now, not even.
Oh yeah, what he did to start when he was healthy is, I mean, again, this class is what it is. But yeah, I have Mike Dunleavy second. I think the moves that he made in the offseason looked really good. Remember what feels like 1,000 years ago when we're like, this team has 14 deep. They're winning with defense. Buddy Hield's shooting the shit out of it. Kyle Anderson works. D'Anthony Melton, perfect pick. And then that kind of falls apart. And then he goes and makes the Jimmy Butler trade, which, like, I don't care. We can never forget like how scary that was and how like really, and then we're going to extend it. And then like Butler turns the team into a different team. Like, it's just, there's a before and there's an after, and it was a bold trade, and didn't give Jonathan Kuminga the extension. That's looking smarter every day as he's out of the rotation now.
At the peak of his value.
Could have traded him. That's true too. It really does come down to, I think he had kind of he built two teams, and when the first one didn't work, he, like, that construction project did not cost the team assets that would have, that it had the assets still because of the first team he built to turn it into the second team, and the second team is good. So credit him there. Pelinka's third. I mean, I don't know what else to, like, he made the trade. That was the defining point of the year in the league, and whether it fell into his lap or not, it did. Like, he made it. So he's got to be here, I guess. All jokes aside, like, Dalton Connect was a pretty good pick where he got him, if we're just gonna be fair about it.
He's been getting way too much love in all rookie discussions. I'm sorry.
He doesn't deserve all rookie. No. But, like, what was he, 17th? I think that's value there. And, like, he did really help early in the year when he was hot.
He almost got the Mark Williams.
I was gonna say, though, like, if we're gonna evaluate on the basis of, like, trades you tried to make and then didn't, the Mark Williams trade, I think, would have been, look, they need a big guy, but the cost was like, what? Like, there's you can't be giving up 2 firsts or whatever it was and Connect for Mark Williams. So he probably wouldn't have been top 3 if the league had not stepped in, or whoever failed the physical.
Well, then how do you reconcile that with Dunleavy trying to trade for Paul George over the offseason?
that was the writing on move. Yeah, I can't. Sorry.
Also, Steph signed an extension this summer too, right?
Well, okay. Like, yeah, sure.
Do you really think he would have done that if Mike Dunleavy wasn't there? That's all I'm saying. So the award that we don't do until the end of the season, but apparently we might need to change that next year, Grant, because people kept being mad that we left it out at our quarter check-ins. Clutch Player of the Year, our ballots. Would you like to take us through them?
Yeah, sure. I will just preface this by saying this is the award I care the least about. It's dumb, but let's do it. So we both had Jalen Brunson first. We both had Jokic second. I want to say I had Brunson first because he had the most clutch points and I think free throws with a positive clutch differential. I really crunched the numbers on this one. I was just like, okay, cool. He's and then Jokic, just all the numbers are still great, and he is just undeniably the best, like, late game offensive performer, orchestrator, whatever that there is. I had Darius Garland third. I believe, if I remember correctly, again, I made these picks like a week ago. He just has the highest clutch differential there is, and he's been super efficient among guys. It's kind of the biggest combo there. Brunson's got the volume stuff. Garland has the efficiency stuff and the better team differential. And then you have Steph. I guess what, I'm not going to argue that you have Steph up for an award.
Steph, like 38 usage on 60 true shooting. Just, I think I saw some people pick Trae Young because of volume stuff. The efficiency just wasn't there. And Garland, I looked at because he was so efficient. But, like, when Donovan Mitchell was clearly their primary option, it was tough for me. The Brunson case is just like, you have like a 43 usage rate while being efficient, and it makes you think the Knicks are headed for disaster, aren't they? They traded all these picks.
You always think that.
They remade their roster and gave up all these assets just so Jalen, they could be just as dependent.
Right.
Like,
but he shouldn't have to do this, is what you're saying.
Clutch Player of the Year, Jalen Brunson. I think Jokic. Did we pick Steph last year, or was it Jokic that we picked? Well, DeMar DeRozan probably factored in there. Jokic has been, like, ever since the award cropped up, I think he's always finished in the top 3 for me.
Do you think this award will be around in 10 years? Will it exist?
Honestly, based off our comment section, yes.
Why do people care about this? I mean,
in theory, it's fun, but it's like I see what
we
you're saying. Like,
can we make up an award for the player who's the best between minute 12 and minute 8 of the second quarter? Can we just like, is that cool too? What about the end of the first half? That's pretty valuable. Can we make one of those up?
Here's the thing. Do you need to like what are the requirements for clutch player of the year? Can we have picked Ty Jerome?
Yeah, I feel like we should have had an honorable mention for every award for Ty Jerome. He probably would have ranked high in clutch play. Although, how much clutch time did he get? That's the thing.
I honestly don't remember.
I don't either.
I apologize. But look, I think Brunson's gonna win it, right? Like, because some of our picks have diverged from I think consensus. This one feels fait accompli.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I won't care.
Are you ready to get into the made up awards from our listeners that they want to hear us talk about? All right, so we kick things off with best finisher under 6'5". So my ballot is our ballot's basically the same, just the way that this is going to shake out. It's called the Kyrie Irving Award, and Kyrie Irving's going to win it for me because he's still there. John Morant, I think you would want the efficiency to be better from him, but the degree of difficulty on the things that he tries is just forever. Peyton Pritchard, I've seen people call him Caucasian Kyrie. He's got some like daring do to his handles. He's shooting 75% at the rim, and there are some tricky finishes there, but I think he probably benefits from Boston spacing. The other candidate we have here is, how do you feel about Tyrese Maxey in this?
He's definitely the fastest finisher under 6'5". Like he just his
package. Hold on, the fastest finisher on the court, or we
moving on. He gets to the rim quick. So like the Morant and Kyrie are like in a separate class, I think. And Maxey, like Maxey doesn't have the crazy, like wrong-footed, like spinning it counterclockwise while you're turning clockwise, like just the up and under Morant had on Gobert the other day. Like he's not that kind of finisher, but he deserves to be in the conversation. I would ask though too, Pritchard is like a low key, like a really mean post up player. Does that count? Because he is at the rim when he's just bullying people that are bigger than him.
It depends on if you want the best finisher to be like have these circus wire acts, then you're probably not going to pick him. But if you appreciate just efficiency and like degrees of difficulty, I think he would at least belong in the discussion.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. You don't like the guy that just like bumps someone out of the way and drop steps and banks it in like he's playing in 1955.
By the way, if we did one for like the floater, is Steph Curry the best like floater shooter of all time? Like in terms of efficiency, there's probably been better, but he just like sometimes the angles and the arcs that he gets. And I also feel like he could be the best finisher at the rim under 6'5" if he just wanted to be.
Well, this is getting back into how we always used to joke, like this guy's the best at this range in the league other than Steph. It's just like whatever kind of weird range or weird type of shot you want to make up, like he's great. He's good at it.
Our next category is the Aaron. So these next two, you're going to need to explain to the kids at home, Grant.
Yeah. So the Aaron Wiggins Award is basically the like, well, you can stop me or correct me. Doesn't start or finish or play huge minutes for his own team. I think we said there was in the proposed award, there was like a hard cutoff of minutes, 20 or 25 or something, but basically would for like most other teams. Is that a fair assessment of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So Aaron Wiggins wins the Aaron Wiggins Award. He's actually really good, but he's also one of those guys that we just like, we like, as a bit like to talk about a lot how good he is, but it's like mostly true. I don't know. It's not like at the level of, and I'm going to offend people, of like the Caleb or the Cody Martins or the Duop Reaths, or who else do we like always have bits about? Aaron Wiggins, like Frank Ntilikina, just a bit. Again, he's another guy that actually is good. He just never gets the chance to show it. So we have Wiggins winning the Wiggins Award. Scottie Pippen Jr. I think he just is a starter. I think I've already said that in this podcast. I also have teammate Isaiah Joe. That guy would start for a lot of teams. Like he's a really great movement shooter, and defensively, he does take a lot of charges. That's kind of like the defining feature of his defense. But he's like a competitive, mobile, stronger than you think, but undersized defender. You have Peyton Pritchard. That's probably he maybe should just win the Aaron Wiggins Award because like he's just
fourth. Because it's like, and you could get into this with Scottie Pippen, where it's, well, they're just so small that teams would prefer to have them come off the bench. The Isaiah Joe pick's a good one too, because he'll screen. I didn't want to pick some of the obvious ones like Nas Reed.
Right.
So I didn't want to go that route. So I was trying, and I didn't look at the minutes cutoff. So if I didn't know there was a maybe, I honestly is Scotty and Peyton. They might do they even minutes? Scotty should. Peyton Pritchard might be playing too many minutes for this, but
Yeah, but he fits though, because it's. But then again, we get back into the like, well, there's one team he doesn't start for. Are there 27 that he would?
This next award might be my favorite because you actually proposed it and then proceeded not to have a ballot for it initially.
It's the Jaxson Hayes Award. It's the anti Aaron Wiggins, which is basically like this guy wouldn't start anywhere else or have a big role anywhere else. And Jaxson Hayes wins it in a landslide because the award is named for him. It's just like, I mean, he's a decent rim protector. I think he's like 60th percentile in terms of just like block rate, and then does suppress some volume and efficiency around the rim when he's on the floor relative to when he's off. He's like a 40th percentile defensive rebounder. He makes mistakes all the time. Like he shouldn't start. The Lakers just have no bigs. So I've got Bub Carrington there. That's unfair to put a rookie there, but like the numbers just are what they are. Of guys that played a ton of minutes, him and Sarr actually are both like among the lowest in estimated plus minus. I have Patrick Williams. Fascinating to think about what his role would be on like a team that had not invested in him like the Bulls did. I don't know, I'll let you go through your 2 and 3 there.
So, and I set up criteria for this to where it was I only picked one player per team because you could focus on the tanking, and I said that they had to start in like more than half of the games this year. So I went with Keon Johnson it was between him or Zaire Williams on the Nets, and I feel like at least with Zaire Williams, it's like we can kind of hold out hope like he turns into this wing that like this, but like different multifaceted wing that we were hoping for, not a star. And Keon Johnson's always kind of had the limited when it comes to like the offensive tool belt and the range. But starts like 50-something games for the Nets this year. They were trying to be bad, but like he was starting before they were, and finished starting, but like he started games before they were terrible. And then I have Isaiah Collier. Again, maybe not fair to have a rookie, and his passing is really, really interesting. But when you look at just his efficiency from base, it's gotten a little better, but from a lot of spots of the floor where it's going to require touch, like aside from being around the basket, you just kind of wonder like, well, I know the Jazz are in experimental mode, but like, wouldn't you rather have like someone else here is a little bit more dynamic? So I went with him. Otherwise it got to, not that this award was easy. Like the Jaxson, I tried to make it the spirit of Jaxson Hayes, but like the Jazz and the Nets aren't good teams. The Wizards and I guess the Bulls played for stakes. So there's that. But
we could have limited it, and maybe in future years, we can set the criteria up to be like, you got to be on a top 6 team in your conference. And then it's like a little more interesting, because then we could have some debates about like
next year. You just want everyone to know.
That's what I'm engineering it for. Yeah, you're right. You saw right through it.
I will say, I'm curious if Jaxson Hayes is going to get paid by the Lakers just because they want a lob like an option for Luka, who Luka is familiar with there.
Well, the Lakers have a great read on what lob threat big guys are worth. So I'm sure they'll be responsible.
Our next category it's basically the worst contract, and we had the same ballot. No surprise here. It's called the Patrick Williams Award, so he's on the ballot. But Bradley Beal, and we're using the contract values like that were this season because we're looking at it through the lens of this season. Bradley Beal, 3 years, $161 million with a no trade clause. That's just the worst contract in the league.
That's tough.
Yeah,
that's real tough.
Joel Embiid, 5 years and $299.5 million. If Bradley Beal doesn't have a no trade clause, guess who wins this award? Joel Embiid. And then Patrick Williams coming in at number 3 in the Patrick Williams Award category. I still, with how restricted free agency has gone, how does he get a player option?
It's scholars, Dan, will puzzle over this question for millennia.
It should terrify Bulls fans that Josh Giddey's headed into restricted free agency.
Oh my God. Is he getting a no trade clause in restricted free agency?
He's not eligible. Don't worry. It's okay.
Okay. They'll find a way.
Next category. This one's really interesting.
Yeah. So this was, I mean, it's if you're a basketball fan, you understand what a black hole is. It's just like the guy's got the ball. It's going up. He's not passing. It might scuttle your offense entirely. It's going to wreck a bunch of possessions, but like also he's kind of a bucket, like it's like tantalizing in a weird way. So I went, cause I just like, there's so many guys come to mind. I wanted to put numbers on it. So all I did was sort out over a certain threshold, of minutes and field goal attempts. These are guys with the worst ratio of field goal attempts per game to assist percentage, and you got to have field goal attempts per per game. That is, I think I said it at like 15. So you got to be getting them up. Number one, Norman Powell. So we both said Norman Powell had an awesome year. That is still true. He's not passing.
But he's actually like statistically passing more than he has in
I
previous
know,
years.
I know. But look, the numbers are what they are, Dan.
Yeah.
This is an actual proprietary metric. Shaden Sharp 2, and Jalen Green 3. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, teammates on Bulls East, were very close to making the top 3 in this award. That's a problem when you have 2 of these guys on the same team, which actually one of yours is also a Rocket. So that's not great for Houston.
Well, I mean, so I approached it. By the way, this should be like a stat. Like this should be your next proprietary stat, like black hole, whatever.
We need we'll have to come up with an acronym. We'll
black hole. Yeah.
Well, no.
I approached it as I said, like I think it was a 750 minute minimum. And I wanted to do it more like, who am I watching to where there can still be that intrigue there. But if you want, they're going to dribble a ton probably.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want something good to happen for someone else, like, no, you don't necessarily want this player to have your possession. So I went Terry Rozier at 1, which I dare anyone to argue against that this season. Dribbles way too much. And it's just been terrible across every end of the spectrum. Cam Whitmore, like just never known as like a passer or a table setter. And like, there's still the intrigue there, but he's not like, I'm sufficiently less intrigued than I was this year, but maybe that's more so the logjam the Rockets. And I know this is a deep cut, but like the KJ Simpson experience in Charlotte is just like, he'll do some stuff, but it ain't going to be for anybody else.
Such a deep cut and not wrong. You know what we need to do? As we go forward, we need to combine my field goal attempts per minute versus assist rate with like touch time or like dribbles per touch. I think we'd really have it, because then you've got the guy pounding the air out of the ball just to shoot it. Then that's really what we're talking about.
Everyone who's listening or watching, you heard Grant lay out the criteria, come up with a formula, make it work, and then you can let us know who would have won this year's Black Hole Award. Perfect. Next up, okay, this we have the same ballot for. Stars who made the biggest sacrifices, which we just defined as like, not that the situations got tougher, although in some cases they did, but they had to take like steps back. And so coming in at number 1 is Domas Sabonis. I mean, when you add DeMar DeRozan and then turn over your roster to get rid of De'Aaron Fox and add Zach LaVine, if you actually look, like no star saw themselves get fewer touches per 75 possessions compared to last year than Domas Sabonis. He was also in the top 20 in the league, Grant, of the increase in time spent away from the ball this year. Coming in at number 2, we have Donovan Mitchell. He's actually, this, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, has been the crux of a lot of his first team All-NBA cases is look at the sacrifice he made. He definitely made sacrifices. Like, you're just not seeing him get as many touches. He's playing more away from the ball. And so I do think that matters. He has still been allowed to like get his usage in the high stakes moments. So I couldn't put him number 1, but I did find, I found that interesting that that's how people were justifying his case for first team All-NBA.
And like, we're so deep in the discourse that I'm sure you've also heard because yes, that is like a lot. Oh, he's sacrificing like a lot. I think in a different way, Tatum last year was credited for that. And I think correctly, but like so then the stock response to, oh, he's sacrificing, therefore he's All-NBA first team is, well, his scoring efficiency is down. Like, is he only sacrificing good shots? Is that what it is? Like, so just, I don't know. That's a funny like thing that keeps coming up. But yeah, he definitely like on another team, like his role is just going to be way bigger. He's playing with a point guard, like a real point guard in Garland, and now Mobley is someone that needs the ball a lot. So I think that's a fair nomination there.
And number 3, and I think if you wanted to make this as someone who like you did it and then it was like had the biggest impact maybe on his team, Tyrese Halliburton could have won this. But I also think that the way he changed, so he spent way more time off the ball. I think he ended up being 5th most in the league in the increase in his time spent away from the ball this year. Maybe that's not second nature, but when you look at kind of the decline in his true usage rate, which incorporates playmaking but also scoring, they'd almost feel like that type of a sacrifice is more like them leading into Tyrese Halliburton doesn't want to necessarily be the most aggressive scorer in the league. So, but he's made sacrifice, like, and it kind of started when they traded Buddy Hield because they needed to use him in all these different actions. And I think that he's important where if you want to tie things together, where it's Siakam, Benedict Mathurin, getting Andrew Nembhard the ability to go downhill or just get touches. Tyrese Halliburton's just been a huge part of that. And so the time spent away from the ball specifically, that like at this level, you had him on an all NBA team and other people have had him on all NBA teams, like to make that level of sacrifice and then your team be maybe the third best team in the East. Like when you're looking at viable playoff threats, monstrous deal.
You know who we forgot that actually should be number one is Paul George, because he gave up his podcast during the season. Pretty
And you
meaningful.
think that we would find that relatable?
We would. Yeah. It's okay. We make mistakes.
Are you ready for our final award of the season, Grant? It is called, they should have played more, Dammit award. I renamed it. It's basically the Duop Reath award. Spoiler alert, Duop Reath is on the ballot. Coming in at number 1, we have a consensus ballot. Dominic Barlow, we tried to make this as like they needed to have a plausible path to more playing time. What about Atlanta's center rotation this year when you look at some of the injuries or how Clint Capella played before he was injured at one point? Makes you think that they signed Dominic Barlow to a 2-way in July. I know they didn't convert him to later, but Dominic Barlow should have like, you give me a big who can grab and go. I've always been sold on him, but like I'm sold. He should have played more.
This is a legacy pick too, because like that's been the Dominic Barlow narrative since he was a 2-way guy on the Spurs. Like that's forever. He's always been a guy like, how come he doesn't play more? Like that's the first thing you talk about with Dominic Barlow. Great choice.
I do have their ranks in total minutes from this season somewhere, so I'll find those and then let you know. But I think Dominic Barlow was like at 446th, I believe. It was it was pretty freaking low. So also low in that Duop Reath, just the Blazers had injuries in the front. I know they're crowded. They were deep. We called them stacked. So this is somewhat fair. But like the guy who conceptually is, he will shoot threes and like he can make plays around the basket, he probably should get more than 10 minutes a game.
He's a nomination for some, like he could have been in the Aaron Wiggins award too. These guys all, I mean, more so than either. Well, Reed Shepherd has a case, but why isn't this guy, so, he should start somewhere.
Duop Reath was 455th in total minutes. Dominic Barlow was 382nd. And our third pick, which he would have been first. He's first in my heart. Reed Shepherd, 336th in total minutes played. He would have been good if he had more minutes. We kind of like, he's everything the Rockets need in theory. They're just too good to have let him try to tap into it and stomach the growing pains that come with it. But a higher level pick, so maybe not in the spirit of the award, but very rarely drafted 3rd overall and not even in the top 300 without like a major injury in total minutes played. Wild.
You know what this is setting up for? Reed Shepherd 25-26 most improved player award. That will be highly controversial because that everybody like 1, it can't go to 2nd-year guy. 2, he was always this good. He just never got a chance.
Will he be doing it for the Rockets though?
Yeah, because they'll trade Fred VanVleet, like I predicted wrongly before the season.
My prediction will be that he will do it for the Rockets or the Suns. Those would be the two teams.
Those are your 2 choices. Fair.
Thank you everyone for your submissions. We'll try to I think we'll do a separate episode next year, and we'll roll over some of these categories that Grant and I like. So join our Discord so you could be a part of that submission process. But do you have anything else, Grant, or do you want to take us out of here?
I'm already thinking of all of the awards should have acronyms. And so that's going to be an important part about it.
So that'll be your task, but your task is for any award that you physically come up with or actually come up with, I would like you to have a ballot for it also.
And I'll have to actually remember what each letter stands for, which I've also struggled with in our recent acronyms.
I don't know what acronym you're going to have for black hole, but that might be a tough one to remember.
I'm already thinking like I'm going to change it from black hole to be like the Nebula Award or like the some other synonym for black hole. That's a year away though. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching. Please give us your submissions if you've got any, if you found any of our picks for everything from MVP to clutch player of the year. Don't miss me with clutch player of the year takes.
I will not be responding to
don't care. Please do submit your who's the best player in arbitrary samples of minutes throughout the game awards. Rate, review, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're going to leave us a comment there, a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed there as well. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. I think that's it. We're going to close the 3rd or 4th awards ballots that we've done of the season.
5th, if you count the preseason.
5th. Jeez, lots of awards. Real participation trophy culture. Shouts Frank Ntilikina. Apologies, Jared Allen.